name is Mike EIDSON. I've lived in Coconut Grove area for 45 years. This has always been about preservation. If you go back 13 years when the county concocted this plan to build a 300-seat theater there and give it to somebody who was operating a theater in Coral Gables, they knew that they had to tear down this auditorium in order to put the 300-seat theater. I don't think there's any real question about that. They have been pursuing this for 12, 13 years to send it to the county and FIU. And for 6 years, they have not touched this building. So they like to say that the building looks terrible because in 12 years, they haven't spent a dime on the building inside or out. So it will look like it looks today, like dilapidated, ignored, this faded lady from the past. It will be 100 years old in 7 years. In England, you couldn't tear this theater down. In England, they would restore this because they have these different categories of old buildings. They like to keep their past. This is one of the last buildings in the 20s that we have left in this city. And by moving a theater from Coral Gables to here does not change anything. I guess if they're going to bring great theater here with this theater company, that means Coral Gables is going to lose great theater, right? So we have a sum zero here by making this move over here and spending $55 million. What are we spending? That's the value of the land and the money they want to put into this. To me, this looks like Cocoa Walk 2. How long did that last? About 25 or 30 years. Somewhere in there is going to be a theater. You've got the old building they say they're going to restore, and then they got a bunch of stores and apartments. It's going to be hard to even find the theater in there. It's not going to be the important theater that this theater was. In 2014, we decided to form the Coconut Grove Playhouse Foundation, a 501c3 recognized by the Internal Revenue Service nonprofit corporation to study the possibility of reopening this as an important national theater again in the old building. If that wasn't sound, then in a large theater building there. This was the most important cultural institution in this city for decades. Up to the time that they went out of business in 2006, they were drawing up to 125,000 people who were enjoying theater and being educated in the theater arts. It was one of the 4 or 5 largest regional theaters in the country. This city that prides itself on being a growing global city is the only cosmopolitan city in this country without an important regional theater. They called it a LORT, L-O-R-T. We don't have any here. They have 2 in Sarasota. They have 1 in Jupiter. I've been all over this country and looked at these theaters and talked to their directors to come up with a plan that I'm about to show you, because they have said in this letter that you got last night, this authoritarian letter that you got from the mayor, that we don't have an alternative plan. And I want to show you that we have not only an alternative plan, we have the right alternative plan, a plan that we have put together over 5 years that we're proud of and that we can afford to implement here. We have done this the right way. We set about proving methodically and deliberately over this period of time using the finest experts in the country, including AMS Theater and Planning in Southport, Connecticut, and Fisher Dax in New York, and many others. I've talked to 9 different architects about how this might be done. This is the front of a new theater can be restored and whether it should be restored. A new Coconut Grove Playhouse, which has got a building to the right, which is a educational and community outreach building. We can afford to do this. We restore the entire theater to its 1926 condition like we did in Coral Gables with the Books and Books building, and go ahead the small theater that we would build next to it. We can afford to do this. The total cost of this is less than $50 million. If the city of Miami puts in $10 million into this project, which we discussed with the last 2 mayors, we would have $36.5 million, not 20, $36.5 million, and we have 5 right now. I think a very, very important, we call this the Coconut Grove Playhouse Center. And it's going to cost between $45 and $50 million. We have cleared that with Skanska International, which built the Science Museum. We know that's what it costs. We own the land. It's going to cost about $45 to $50 million to build this. As I said, we have $36.5 million now. If the governments, we got the state government, the federal government involved, putting up tax credits, $4.5 million, 2 from the state for preservation, 10 from the city, 20 from the county, and we will raise $20 million. This is a gap in our cultural offerings, and this is the last chance we're going to have for decades to do this thing right. Thank you very much for letting me speak. Oh, I didn't finish. $56.5 million is what we would put into this plan. We would not stop there. We have raised $7 million for the Arts Center in the last 2 months. That's all money that supplements the Avian Arts Center's operations, that allows us to do programs for people who are underserved in this community, like the Ailey Camp for 150 kids every summer. That is what we want to do in Coconut Grove. We want everybody in this community to participate in this. We don't want this to be a theater that's open from 7 to 9, 4 or 5 days a week and closed 22 weeks a year. We want this to be a center that we can afford here, that's in the right place, because Coconut Grove has got a brand all over the world. They cannot put 300 seats into the restored building, and that's why we're here today. How can you reward somebody who has spent 12 years trying to shove this down our throats, and is going to spend another 5 years trying to build 300 seats here? I have done everything I can do here. I put $2 million into this out of my own pocket because I believe this is right. I love the plan. I think this is a good plan. I think if not now, when? If not here, where? This is one of the most important theater sites in this country. People all over the world are going to reverberate to what we do today. This is a 100-year decision. This is not a little decision about building a 300-seat theater. It's about what we consider important, what legacy we leave to our children. So I appreciate the time that you've given me here today.